Welcome to the Marketing on the Move podcast, hosted by the Breezy Company, your go-to resource to master your marketing while juggling all of the demands of being a business owner. We understand that your time is a limited resource and marketing might be the last thing on your priority list right now. Our mission is to provide you with tangible insights and actionable tactics into the latest marketing trends, best practices, and strategies that you can implement no matter how busy you are. Each episode is designed to offer practical advice on leveraging your unique business strengths and efficiently managing your marketing strategy. Whether you're tuning in during your morning commute, between meetings, or while on the run, Marketing on the Move is here to empower you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in marketing, even when your schedule is packed. Join us for a journey into making the most of your marketing efforts, no matter how busy you are.
Hi there, this is Steve Soto, and this is the Marketing on the Move podcast. I have with me today my partner, Josh Webb, and partner in crime, and we're going to talk about a cybercrime. We're going to talk about what happens when you get ransomware.
Yeah.
And
it's like a buddy cop movie.
But we reveal that we're superheroes at the end.
Yeah.
Ransomware, what does it mean? Okay, so ransomware is any time your computer, network, phone is compromised and you can no longer have access to the data that you want and deserve because someone else has encrypted it. That means they've taken all your data, they've applied an encryption technique to it, and now it's useless to you until you pay them some money. Sounds like a shady business.
And it sounds like something that doesn't really happen very often. How often does that happen?
Well, it's really a hard statistic to track because most people don't want to reveal that they've had ransomware because it's embarrassing. And in cases where it's a large organization, there might be shareholder implications. But we do hear about it. We hear about it at banks have been affected, credit card processing facilities, medical facilities. All of them have been impacted. So we know it happens. I don't think we know how often it happens. And, there's a couple approaches to dealing with it, some of which will make sure that you don't hear about it. So talking about, why is it a bad thing? Well, imagine all of your work product, all your company notes, all your bookkeeping files, they are still with you, but they're inaccessible. The smart, ransomware people, they do this thing and then they wait months, sometimes half a year, for every computer in your network to get infected. All your backups are infected. And then they trigger it. And that's when you see the message that you've been hacked.
Well, and how do they typically get in? Because, I'm sure, this is Marketing on the Move podcast. So the question is, why are we talking about ransomware? I have definitely heard of it too. And I want to share that story from an insurer client of mine. But I do want to know, like, how do they typically get in?
Well, it's the ways that everyone gets a virus. An employee clicks the wrong file. They're given a USB key. Believe it or not, people still pick up USB keys in parking lots and then plug them in. That's an easy way to get in. Sometimes they get a little inside help, and there have been cases in which the ransomware was actually planted by an employee that had been paid off.
I'm curious if there's something with your website that they can actually start to hack that way.
I don't know if you've heard about these things called bots. So the bots usually start out very innocuous. So you'll download something, you'll buy a plugin for your website. You'll do something like, get an add-on for a piece of office software. It does amazing things and it's free. Well, all that thing, other than the amazing thing it does, is it will install a bot on your computer. And the bot is really just a portal for more software to be added to your computer. And that's how it gets on. It could be the most innocent thing. It could actually, and often is very, very helpful to you in the beginning.
So in some cases, and I know this, I've had this before. I've had a piece of software, even a plugin. I believe we paid for it, but they had some kind of exposure where people that didn't update that plugin, they had bots that were able to get in, and then websites that were holding lots of user data. So, whether they had stores, whether they had, they may just be sending that information off somewhere, but keeping it as a record that they filled out the form. And now all of a sudden, all of these emails were leaked. Yep. And that's probably on the more innocent end. On the not so innocent end, some pretty major information's stolen. Or in the case, I think, kind of sending it back to what we're talking about with the ransomware, I have had a case where people, they were able to get into a website and say, hey, we've stolen all of your marketing. And they did their entire business on their site. And they said, if you would like it back, give us $200,000 or something.
Right. So this happens, and there's a few options. If you're legally obligated, you should notify the government. And there's particular websites to report this. Now, reporting to the government isn't a guarantee you get your data back, but if you have legal obligations, fiduciary duties, you store public records or medical records, you have to notify the authorities. There's the option of paying. And, more often than not, if you pay, you get your data back. Doesn't mean that it won't happen again. It doesn't mean it won't happen from the same people again. There's also, hard trusting a criminal. You could pay and get absolutely nothing. You could try hiring a cybersecurity expert to figure it out and unencrypt things, but that may take more money and more time than just paying. And then there's always the option of, you've had a really good disaster recovery plan. You've backed everything up. You store your data not only in the original format, but you store it in another format that's less easy to hack. And you ignore the criminals and you just do restores. Yep. But that takes an awful lot of planning and verification. Because like I said, these bots can sit there doing absolutely nothing for months and years. And then when they find a customer that wants a particular action taken, then those bots load that other software.
Well, I mean, and you may not want to get on to topics that relate to this, but one question that I did have that has to do with bots and everything is like, when we're seeing these different kind of hacks always come through, the reason that we need reCAPTCHAs so people don't fill out your forms, and I can understand why, almost like Ocean's 11 style, somebody comes and takes over your whole IT infrastructure. But I have a hard time understanding like why bots would want to automatically click my Google ad 15,000 times so that I have to pay a crazy amount of money. And what do they get out of that?
So without throwing too many dispersions, there are competitors out there that look for your ads and then hire organizations to do those clicking to drive your ad costs up.
That's just mean.
Yes. I was in Thailand and I got to visit an office where there were stands, multiple rows deep in the office of mobile phones. And there were people running through the aisles of these stands with phones on them and pressing buttons because someone had paid them to go to particular websites and do particular tasks and do it hundreds or thousands of times a day.
Yeah, I just see like somebody like Mr. Smithers just like sitting.
Well, and you ask, well, why would anyone do that? I think it has to do a lot with the gross economic difference between North America and lesser uh, financially capable countries.
Right.
You know, when we in the United States consider a click worth 0.0002 cents, right, or dollars, and there's someone who can click that thing 500 times in a day, they could still be paid enough money to make that click worthwhile.
Okay, so let's put ourselves in our audience's shoes real quick. I've got a business to run. I got 100 things on my plate. I hear about this, but it's kind of like life insurance. It's like hearing about that. Like, yeah, I understand why it's really important. And I do hear the horror stories, but what is it what are some steps I can take as as somebody that's got 100 things on my plate to do? So
the best thing is whether you have your own IT staff or you farm it out, make sure that they're updating the software all the time. And if you don't have an IT person or a consulting firm, make sure you learn how to update the software. And that doesn't matter if it's on your phone or if it's on your desktop computers. You want to make sure it's current, because companies do their very best to keep the bad guys out.
And not just to use this as just an ad, but it's just like, even if you don't hire Breezy Sites as a way to be able to make sure that those things are secure, and it's like, hire somebody.
Yes.
Hire a company. Make sure that you're covering for that, because it's one of those things that you're not going to think about until it happens, and then all of a sudden you're going to freak out about it.
And oftentimes, once it breaks, it's too late. There's no reset button. I mean, typically these things are getting smart enough that your backups are also infected. So you want to make sure that you do the proactive stuff, because the reactive stuff is costly and not effective in many cases. Yeah. And so, going back to one of your original questions, tell the authorities if you have to report it. If you lose people's information, and sometimes ransomware is also, we have a copy of all your data, you might have to report it to government agencies if you've lost a lot of people's private information. And we see these in the news all the time. These hacks aren't always ransomware, I locked everything up. These hacks are oftentimes, I just grabbed a copy of your data, and now your 50 million customers, I have all their personal information.
Well, and hopefully you know this, but it's like, there's a reason that when you're purchasing on a website or something like that, they're not sitting there holding the credit card information. They're sending it over to like something like Stripe or some kind of payment gateway to try to push that through and get rid of it, because they're more likely to get hacked than, say, Stripe. Right.
So some companies won't have your credit card, but they still have your home address, your date of birth, the answer to your secret, question, what's your pet's name, that sort of thing. So that those data sets are then sold on the black market to people who want to exploit them for identity theft. So it's it's a messy business, but as we've said, there are pre-steps to avoiding the damage. But you've got to stay on top of those software updates. You've got to have virus scanning software. And you've got to know how firewalls work for your business.
So something I hear pretty often is, we're going to go with a system like Squarespace or Webflow or something like that, purely for security reasons. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that I like about those platforms. I'm a big fan of Webflow and things like that. But we have seen where it's like places like WordPress or some more open source capability they're becoming less and less trusted because of how open they can be.
Right. Well, I mean, so the targeted platforms are because of popularity. The reason why Webflow isn't being hacked is first off, they're running all the servers, so they run all the security themselves, which does make them more secure. They're also not nearly as popular as WordPress. There used to be a day when all the viruses were Windows and there were no Mac viruses because Mac just wasn't popular enough to write a virus for. Now it is. So part of that is going with the most popular system can make it more vulnerable because there's more opportunity.
Well, and what's funny too is that people want things like plugins, and they don't want a closed system. Right. But it is true that when you start doing stuff like that, it's like that's when you start opening it up to be able to. So there's a reason that your iPhone, for instance, uses the App Store, and they have a very, very a hard way to get into the App Store versus trying to get into the Google Store. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, both of them have reviews, and both of them have automated their reviews a lot of code so that they can tell if you're trying to do something nefarious. But the fact that, Android phones let you basically load software whether or not it's ever been on the store makes it a little bit more vulnerable.
Yep.
I mean, the hoops you have to jump through to load, unvetted software on an iPhone is tremendous and beyond most people's technical capability. To load unvetted software on an Android is flipping one switch and downloading the file. Right. So, yeah. But that's it for ransomware.
Bye-bye.
It's one of those topics that, constantly in the news. Trying to understand it's a little bit difficult, so definitely have a trusted advisor technically. And when it comes to the security of your website, you might want to check out Breezy. We have people that do this for a living, and we can walk you through the process. Anything else, Josh?
That's it. You want to take us out?
All right. Well, I do appreciate your guys' times today. The Breezy company is happy to talk to you, and I'm really happy that you guys might want to listen to it. I know ransomware can be a popular topic, so I hope you've gotten something out of it. And if you need to know more information, you can reach out to us on our website, which is thebreezycompany.co.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Marketing on the Move. If you're looking for more ways to improve your marketing and build a scalable system to help your business grow, check out thebreezycompany.co or any of the resources linked in today's show notes.